Welcome back to A Theater Near You. I am your host, Chris Randazzo, and joining me tonight is Great Buick, Paul Giroux.
Great Buick? There was a Great Buick? Oh, that! Yeah, that was... that's me, sure.
And out of tune piano, Sean Doyle. We had a Roadhouse double feature today for the movie R, and...
Did we ever?
We certainly did. So we're going to talk about it. How great is Jake Gyllenhaal? Let's find out. But first, how are you, gentlemen?
I think you know how we are. We spent
I know,
the
we
whole
just
day
spent the whole day
together
together.
watching 2 Roadhouse movies and then going to dinner at Texas Roadhouse.
That's right. This was a Roadhouse triple feature, technically.
Oh, yeah.
I was really hoping that we would get into a fight with somebody at Texas Roadhouse.
I was so ready. I was just looking around. I was like, somebody start a fight. Come on. Come on.
We prepared for this all day.
Well, let's see. I guess let's just get right down to business. I mean, is there any non-Roadhouse related business that we need to attend to before we start talking? Obviously, Sean hasn't watched Daredevil yet, so we can't talk about that.
I'm always a little behind. I did finally see Captain America. I did finally finish Agatha all along, and I thought it was good.
I really liked that show.
Yeah.
I thought that was a blast.
I thought the ending really brought it together nicely. The last 2 episodes maybe could have been 1 episode. That last one, although I like what it did, it seemed like it stretched it a bit. But
Dude, this was now so long ago, I don't even remember the show.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The Patty LuPone's last episode was fucking spectacular. That was an amazing episode.
Yeah, good stuff. It's good stuff. Other movie related? I don't think anything else new.
I'm trying to think if I have anything.
Oh, I will say this. I think we touched on it last time, but yeah, the Red Hulk should have definitely been a surprise ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have made what I thought was a good movie a great movie.
It was a little bit more of a surprise. I think that would have been pretty rad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's get down to business. So we watched Roadhouse, and then we watched Roadhouse. Roadhouse was released on.
Wait, how are we structuring this? Are we talking about one Roadhouse and then the other Roadhouse and then the dinner at Texas Roadhouse, or are we just kind of talking about the whole Roadhouse experience?
Chris, you talk about Roadhouse 1. Paul, you talk about Roadhouse 2, and I'll talk about the dinner, and we'll just go.
We'll just go. All right. Well, let's get the basics down here. So Roadhouse was released on May 19th, 1989. It was directed by Rowdy Harrington. I love that the director of this movie was named Rowdy. This is other works includes. I don't have a script. I'm making this up as I go along here. His other filmography.
Rowdy did.
Not a ton here. There's a Bobby Jones' Stroke of Genius, Eyewitness, The Stick Up. I've never heard of pretty much all of his other works. That's pretty interesting.
So then you would say that Roadhouse is Rowdy Harrington's claim to fame.
Without a doubt. Yeah, there's nothing else on here that's like he's got almost no. He's born in 1951 in Pittsburgh. Currently lives in Livingston, Montana. He's married and has no children. That's
We should have called him and got him on the podcast.
probably, yeah. It doesn't seem like he's it literally says on his Wikipedia page, known for Roadhouse. Okay, let's see. It was written, it was a screenplay by R. Lance Hall and Hilary Henkin. It stars Patrick Swayze, Ben Gazzara, Kelly Lynch, and Sam Elliott. Tells the story of a world-famous bouncer who was called in to bounce at a roadhouse and rip a guy's throat out.
Now, at one point, he makes a distinction, though. He says
he was a cooler.
He says, "I'm the cooler." I forget exactly what the line was, but like
he says, "You guys are the bouncers. I'm the cooler," something like that.
So the cooler trains the bouncers.
I'm not entirely sure of the bouncer hierarchy.
I thought he was implying that he was there to cool the situation down.
Yeah,
like because he was impressing on them. You got to be nice. You got to try to talk it down.
Cooler is a term, but I think it has to do with casinos and gambling. Like it's the guy they bring in to like break somebody's streak if they're winning a lot of money.
Oh, I didn't
like cool the table.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing.
Which has nothing to do with Roadhouse or fights in bars.
Conversely, Roadhouse was released on March 21st, 2024. And this was an Amazon Prime joint, which, if I'm being honest, I really think this could have made it in theater. But anyways, it was directed by Doug Liman, who...
he's done all the Bourne Identity movies.
Bourne Identity, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jumper, Edge of Tomorrow, etc.
Yeah, he's an action movie guy.
Yeah, he did a solid job here. And this was written by... screenplay by Anthony Bagarazzi. That's a fun name. Charles Mondi. Story by Anthony Bagarazzi, Charles Mondi, and David Lee Henry. And based on Roadhouse by David Lee Henry. Mm-hmm. And it was distributed by Amazon and Metro Goldwyn Mayer Productions or Pictures. And it tells the story of an ex-MMA dude who he killed somebody in the ring, and he becomes a bouncer at a roadhouse in Florida. And there's explosions, and nobody's throat gets ripped out.
Also gets
really
brought in to stop a situation, to put a stop to a powerful person who's wreaking havoc.
I did
Right.
look up the
on a
cooler.
town.
It's a slang term used commonly in casinos or bars for someone who comes in and breaks a streak or ruins a situation.
All right, so it is applicable.
Yeah.
It's applicable to both.
Oh, sorry, I
And
forgot
Swayze was a cooler, I guess.
He
got
was
to say the
breaking up
movie
the situation.
stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Daniela Melchior, Billy Magnuson, Jessica Williams, Joaquim de Almeida, J.D. Pardo, Austin Post. Really, J.D. Pardo gets a starring listing here? I don't know about that. And Conor McGregor.
Which one was J.D. Pardo?
He was the dude who he said he was going to knock his teeth out in the beginning. The guy who got eaten by the alligator, crocodile.
Oh, for God's sakes. Starring. Barely in it. In like
Yeah,
3
like-
scenes.
Yeah.
He
I
got
don't-
beat
I don't
up.
think so.
And then he hit him with a car. Then he got eaten by an alligator. Which is a nice arc for a character. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It was pretty quick.
Meanwhile, Texas Roadhouse is an American steakhouse chain that specializes in steaks in a Texan and Southwestern cuisine style. It was founded on February 17th, 1993. It was founded by W. Kent Taylor, whose other works include apparently being dead as of 2021.
R.I.P.
Let's see. He founded Texas Roadhouse in 93 at the Green Tree Mall in Clarksville, Indiana. His goal was to create an affordable Texas-style restaurant. He was turned down more than 80 times while seeking investors. His initial investors were 3 doctors from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, who invested $300,000 to show the investors his initial design for the first restaurant. Taylor sketched the design on a cocktail napkin. Until his death, Taylor was involved in the chain's day-to-day operations. That.
Well, let me just say, Mr. Taylor, nice work. I
Yeah.
appreciated your restaurant.
That was a good time.
I enjoyed
So
it.
And it was reasonably priced for what we got.
yeah,
Right?
for what we
It
got,
was
yeah.
tasty food, reasonable
The
price.
steak was not well done because I don't order my steak well done, but it was well cooked. And very
I'm still not sure that bacon on top of the potato was cooked at all, but I don't feel sick, so we're gonna run with it.
Yeah, well, like that's the thing. It didn't look like it wasn't shaped like raw bacon. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it was all curled up like it had been cooked. So yeah, something was weird about that bacon. But it tasted.
It did.
So we started the day with Roadhouse, the original Patrick Swayze Roadhouse, which I have seen numerous times.
I had not seen in 15, 20 years, and the main way I remember ingesting this movie prior to today is, I'm pretty sure it was WPIX Channel 11 when we were kids. It was one of that was a channel that would just show the same, I don't know, dozen movies over and over and over for 3 years, you know? So anytime you walk by, you're like, oh, Roadhouse is on, or whatever movie it was. But that means I was watching it on public, or not public access, but,
Yeah,
broadcast
the local
TV.
affiliate. Yeah, you missed large chunks of the story, I'd imagine.
right. I mean, none of the tits. I'm sure that hole in the guy's neck was probably,
Sure.
shied away from. The language was probably toned down, although the language wasn't, I don't remember it being over the top.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of terrible language in there. There were a lot of boobs. There was
wonder if this
bit more
was
for full frontal.
What was the rating on this? Was it rated R?
It must have been.
With that many tatas, I have to assume so.
In the early 80s, there was this weird situation where like PG-13 didn't exist, and like if you could avoid the F-bomb more than once and have less than like whatever it was, 15 seconds worth of tatas, like you could pull off a PG rating on a pretty... There was some Schwarzenegger movie, I think.
Well, it was, wasn't it Temple of Doom that is the thing that created the PG-13 rating, right?
Was it? That's early 80s, 82? That's before this, though. I think there was some Schwarzenegger movie that really should have been R, but like it managed to keep it down just enough, and they were like, PG, this isn't right at all.
Yeah.
It's rated R. Roadhouse
is rated R. All right.
R for Roadhouse.
All right. You said that at the beginning.
I did. Love Joe. Yeah, it's got an IMDb rating of 6.7, which I think is horrendously low. I think this movie is freaking amazing. I think it's not the most wonderfully, like, quote unquote good movie I've ever seen, but also like it's so perfectly entertaining. It seemed to know exactly what it was aiming for, and it's got some issues for sure. But I don't know. I just think this movie's fantastic. I freaking love it.
I think we've had a running theme of that. Like when a movie knows what it is, it doesn't have to be Oscar-winning material. Like if you're trying to make, something like Roadhouse, you're not going to win an Oscar. Know that, and just give me what Roadhouse was meant to be, which is what they did. They did a good job of it. A bunch of fight scenes.
Fat guy in suspenders.
Why not?
I think the other thing about it is I think the problems that it has, I think it's so fun that it like sort of, the funness sort of surpasses the logic issues.
Right.
I guess we'll get into later which of the three Roadhouses we prefer. Roadhouse, or Texas Roadhouse.
I thought you were going to say which of the three Roadhouses has the largest logic issues. And I'm going to say it's a toss-up, but we can break it down.
We did not. We very specifically did not watch Roadhouse 2. That was a straight to DVD. Really does not look like a very good movie, and we just wanted to do a double feature, but it was
We did watch the preview, like you said, and the preview was so bad. Like, a preview is supposed to make you want to see a movie. That made me want to run away from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, we if we watched all three of them, it would have been a marathon, and we've played our marathon card.
We did. Yeah, I gotta wait till the next.
This was a double feature. And also, like, something about... I mean, that's kind of another thing that we haven't really done with this, is watch a movie and then watch a remake.
Yeah, watch its remake.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was a valuable experience, I think. The logic issues with Roadhouse, like I pointed out the thing about the geography of the town. Like, see now I'm starting to compare the Roadhouses, but like I feel like with the Gyllenhaal Roadhouse, like I was picking up on the geography. Like, you go over this bridge, there's this bus stop and this bookstore, you're in the Florida Keys. With like the Swayze Roadhouse, I think they were just like, yeah, people won't know where this automotive place is if it's not right next to the Double Deuce.
Plus, how are they supposed to see that it's on fire if they can't just look out the window?
And that was super weird that the villain guy lived right across from Swayze's romantic love barn.
Yeah. And it's also weird that he already knew this and still refused to close his 6-foot-tall windows.
Yeah.
Like,
he did not care about being buck-ass nude, just sitting wherever he wanted.
Mm.
The other thing with that villain from the Swayze Roadhouse, are we calling them the Swayze Roadhouse and the Gyllenhaal Road? How do you want to do this?
I was going with the first and the second, but really, whatever floats your boat there.
I'm going to call them the Swayze Roadhouse and the Gyllenhaal Roadhouse.
I'm going with Billy and Gina. But you go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, like the bad guy, like it wasn't that like we understood what like crime you know, like what business he was in and what sort of organized crime thing. I'm assuming it was like organized crime that he was
It
like
was
a
like
part
a
of.
protection scam.
He was just like yeah, that's right, because they would rob the automotive store, right? They would take their money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Some sort of, he's running protection.
Yeah, but like
Then they wrecked that car joint.
It just seemed like that guy's bit was like, I'm gonna act like a dick. Like I'm gonna act like I own the town because I do. I'm gonna drive on the other side of the road and whistle loudly. Like he was a weird villain.
Yeah.
That was a super weird move. Because, like, if he hit him, they were both going to die.
Yeah, that was like straight up suicide. That wasn't like a power move. That was just like, I'm going to drive, and if you don't get out of my way, we're both dead. Like, that's not a power move. That's
Didn't realize it was him at first. I just thought of some, crazy coot driving around like a nut job that Swayze was going to deal with. And I was like, oh, that's the villain. What's wrong with him?
Yeah, I mean, the utility of the scene was just to show that, like, this guy does what he wants, and he acts like he owns the place. So it seemed like there were maybe better ways to do that than, like, the way he drives down the road.
Yeah,
that was a
part
very
was weird.
odd scene.
The fact that I gotta keep coming.
Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah,
and everybody was like Dalton,
the
Oh my
world's
God,
most
yeah.
famous bouncer.
So they both follow the same trajectory of like, it's all about they hire this guy to be a bouncer who's really good at fighting dudes or whatever.
Well,
but
again, I don't want to. Like now I'm starting to compare the Roadhouses, but like in the, I think it make it a little more sense to go like nobody's famous for being the best bouncer. Like who can fight? Let's look at people who are MMA fighters, right?
yeah,
Like
I liked that change. I thought that was a real smart way to handle that.
And everybody in the town knew him, and they almost made a joke out of it that everybody knew Dalton in the Gyllenhaal one, but they kind of knew him. A couple people knew him from the MMA thing, but then everybody else knew him because it was a small town, and they learned about him.
Yeah, he beat up those dudes at the bar, and everybody
like
was
6 guys' asses.
Yeah,
right.
The point that I was getting
and
to
drove
is
them to the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
in a
we'll
minute.
get to that. Sorry, go on.
The point that I was making is that the whole trajectory of the movie is like this guy comes and he does this thing, and then eventually the bad guys push him over the edge. They push him beyond his limits because like the whole thing is that he's cool and calm all the time until they push him too far. And in the Swayze one, they push him too far by like murdering his best friend and blowing up several buildings. And then in the Gyllenhaal one, like they push him over the edge by burning down the bookstore and fake kidnapping his girlfriend. I think that I think the bad guys were a bit more murdery in the first one, right? Am I mistaken in that assumption?
A little bit. I mean, they did jump right to hiring an assassin to come kill Gyllenhaal. Like
That's
that was
true.
the plan.
But that was his crazy dad, right?
Yeah.
Because like in the first one, you've got crazy rich guy, and then in the second one, it seemed like crazy rich guy was off screen, and his coked up crazy rich guy's son, who was kind of inept, was the bad guy. But then his dad hired.
Which and now I know we're into the second one. This is just going to happen. We're just going to jump.
Yeah,
back and
I
forth.
guess so. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Why was that guy? We never saw that guy.
The guy in jail?
Yeah.
Well,
I never saw him.
I think it made. I think what we're trying to say is it made the like villain dynamic a little easier to buy into in the Gyllenhaal Roadhouse, right? Because again, with the Swayze one, it like this was just a rich guy that wanted to assert his dominance over a town and like show you that he was the boss, right? Like, and like it felt very, honestly, it felt very 80s, and it felt very like maniacal 80s villain, like it reminds me of something like the A-Team, where it's like this guy owns the town and we got to bring you guys in to like fix the problem. You know what I mean? Like, whereas like with the Gyllenhaal one, I felt like the dynamic of the like crime and the bad guys was like easier to understand. It was like they built this, you know, they own, you know, they sort of did a lot on this island. The dad went to jail and now the kid's trying to like, you know, make this. There was an objective. The kid was trying to make this like resort and force out the roadhouse, and then they had to bring in another bad guy. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot more easy to buy into, and it was a lot more like defined as to like who they were, and you know, they're like they own a yacht and they you know what I mean? Like
I think it lends really well to the point that at least I wanted to make, was that this new Roadhouse was so much better than I expected. Like when I saw, they did a remake of Roadhouse. It's on Amazon and it stars Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know, man. That doesn't sound great, but okay.
Well, I think it sounds terrible. I had no desire to see it, and I only watched it today, only because we were doing it for this. I was like, that doesn't sound good at all. The first one, part of the enjoyment of it, I mean, it's somewhat ridiculous for sure.
Indeed.
But it's dripping with 80s, and like you said, or like we've all said, it knows itself. So you're getting this action movie. You're going to get a bunch of fight scenes. It's got a plot, we'll call it. Why not? I don't know. They give you a bunch of situations. Patrick Swayze goes around and he kicks a bunch of people in the face. He's the good guy. They establish that pretty clearly. A couple small points of levity and way over the top 1980s bad guy. Like, that's what you want, and it's wonderful. And to try to remake it, if they had tried to do like a shot-for-shot remake, I think it would have gone real poor.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I think this was a great way to do a remake, because they took only the broadest strokes. Like, they took the guy's name. Okay, he's a good fighter, but like that's not even something really.
They only
the
took half
Swayze
of
one
his
wasn't
name.
like a professional fighter. He was just a bouncer.
They took half of his name, because I think in
I think in the Swayze one he was Dalton something or other, and in the Gyllenhaal one he was Elwood Dalton.
He's James Dalton in Swayze, and yeah, then Elwood Dalton, and then
We find out later it's his son.
no, his son is who's in Roadhouse too.
Oh no!
What do they name him?
It's a family business.
It's his grandson.
Shane Tanner. Yeah, so
We'll find out about that in the Roadhouse TV
the
series.
official description on IMDb. While he's deep undercover in New York, DEA agent Shane Tanner, the son of the legendary cooler named Dalton, learns that his uncle Nate Tanner got beat up by a group of men because he doesn't want to sell the Black Pelican, his bar in Tyree, Louisiana. I'm not going to read the rest of this thing because
it's not worth reading.
It's not worth reading.
But Nate Tanner's brother, Danny Tanner. Full House is a spinoff of Roadhouse 2.
Full House, Roadhouse,
right there.
The House cinematic universe. Then Dr. House
Dr.
comes
House,
in, and
yes.
he, like, you know,
still in the same universe.
yeah, totally.
He's the son of the hot doctors, because all female doctors are hot and like to date bouncers.
So
right, as we learn from these movies.
The connections, I liked some of the connections that the nods that they did to the original movie, like that one shop in the shopping center was called Double Deuce.
I missed that.
The book that she was talking about, the main one of the books that she was trying to sell Dalton on, the main character of the book was named Wade.
Oh yeah.
Those are the two that jump into my head immediately, but I feel like there were a handful of other like small nods, and there were like specific lines that he repeated, like "No one wins a fight." Sadly, we didn't get "Pain Don't Hurt," which is just completely asinine. Just that is not a line that makes sense. And I liked that they that the Gyllenhaal one put a little bit more comedy into the absurdity of the action sequences towards the end, like, you know, fucking
piano
dart gun, like, and with the piano, and like his reaction to the complete absurdity that was that. So I have to assume Conor McGregor's character, whose name was tattooed on his chest 3 times.
And he had a necklace,
And he had a
gold necklace that said
Knox on it, which is just chef kiss. I assume he was the insane guy as opposed to the insane not Patrick Swayze guy that he ripped the throat out of in the first one. Like, I think that's the analog to that character.
Certainly the good fighter that he's got to go up against.
Yeah,
sure.
And obviously, what Jessica Williams played the bar owner character, which was a very different character. I think Jessica Williams is very funny.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never watched Shrinking,
oh yeah,
she's fantastic in that too. God, that show's.
Yeah, I mean, look, both roadhouses are something special. I think it was nice that the Gyllenhaal one had more comedy infused into it, and we'll get into that. I feel like we're skipping ahead a little bit. Swayze was just cool. Like, he had a lot of lines that were just cool, and then I also liked all of his his weird, I guess his weird little eccentricities and philosophies. Like, we were kind of pointing some of it out as we were going. He gave up that car when he left town, and then he got into that nicer car to go to the new town. But then once he got there, he got a shitty old car, and we're like, why is he doing that? But he realized he was going to be, this bouncer with a target painted on his back, and he didn't want his awesome car getting messed up.
Yeah.
He also loaded the car up with tires, so we're like, why is he doing that? And then he goes out there and it's tires, I just tires. It kind of feels like the thing in a spy movie where somebody's always watching the door, or I think I liked watching Swayze's process, his or when he addressed all the bouncers and he's like, you try to take him outside and you try to, you do that,
be nice.
He had a system. He had it all under control.
Well, because that was that's what he was. He did this and he was trained by Sam Elliott to do this. Whereas Jake Gyllenhaal's character was never a bouncer before. He was just an MMA guy that she hired just because he could fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, Dalton in Swayze Dalton, he had a plan. He knew the process of doing this and how to deal with these people and how to train employees, and that was a big difference between those two movies.
The humor in the second one is completely different. The first one we laughed a lot of times, but it wasn't intentional. Most of them we were laughing at the fact that the villain's right across the lake. Yeah. The villain's watching them have sex on the roof because they're naked. When we were just why are you out on this roof naked when the villain is right across the lake? And there he is watching them. It's of course.
I'm sorry. He's watching them across the lake, but he's sitting in that rocking chair smoking a cigar menacingly. I feel like it couldn't have been more comical.
Right. So
I see you've got a lady in your life. But yes, it played, the first movie played it so straight. They had to have. I'm so curious. Did they know how absurd this stuff was?
I don't think so.
Or were they just also on drugs?
I don't think that man maybe knows how to make a good movie, and the reason that guy probably doesn't have anything else is I think he just kind of stumbled into this working on a couple levels.
Right. Yeah.
Because it didn't feel intentional. Whereas the Gyllenhaal one, those moments of laughter, like him driving him to the hospital. That was intentional.
Yeah,
that was super intentional and landed really well.
That one thug guy that
was just nice,
just a nice guy.
Oh my god,
he just riding motorcycles and fell in with the wrong crowd because that was all there was to ride motorcycles with.
Those motorcycles out there, yeah, the red one's mine.
With the Swayze movie, some of the stuff was so specific and weird. I have to believe that it was rooted in some kind of reality. Hey, this town really does have a bully that drives that has a crew of people that drive around in a monster truck. Some of it was just so strange that I gotta believe that it was pulled from the history of some weird dysfunctional town somewhere.
It struck me as all right, what does a complete asshole with infinite money do? Buy a monster truck and roll around in it, or but no, you're right. I've they're probably right that there was some sort of tie to realism on there.
So he's got this protection scam where he's taking money from the businesses, he's taking money from the auto, the automotive store. I guess he's taking money from the car dealership, right?
Everybody.
I'm just trying to remember some of the other characters.
Money from the bar, but he was the only one allowed to sell them liquor.
Well, but technically he was taking money from the bar because it was his nephew or somebody that was the bartender, and then Swayze sort of catches on, and he's like, I mean, I don't remember what he said. He gave a whole spiel, but it was like every
10th
sixth
beer you're pocketing,
something like that, and he's like, you're walking out with about an extra 150 a night or something like that.
Wow, the monster truck used in the movie was Bigfoot number 7.
Oh, well, thank God for that.
There's so little information here at the on the wiki page about its production. I was looking to see if I could find something else about it. There's a big breakdown of the plot, but as far as filming goes, it's just a few sentences, so I'll just read it. Filming started in April 1988 on location throughout California, primarily in Newell, Valencia, and Canyon County. The filming of much of the new Double Deuce used Anaheim's Cowboy Boogie, also later called the Bandstand, among other names, until it closed. The opening and monster truck scenes were filmed in Reedy, California. The Kings River runs between the two residences. The monster truck used was Bigfoot number 7, which was originally built for the film. The scene cost $500,000 to film. While filming the famous fist fight scene, Marshall broke Swayze's ribs.
Huh.
And the casting, Annette Bening was originally cast as Dr. Elizabeth Clay. This is fascinating. However, since she had little chemistry with Patrick Swayze, she was replaced by Kelly Lynch. And one of my issues with this movie is I thought those two had no chemistry at all whatsoever. So that's interesting. Scott Glenn turned down the role of Jimmy Reno. Who the hell was Jimmy Reno? Which eventually went to Marshall Teague. Which character was Jimmy Reno?
The main bad guy? The old guy on the chair?
Oh, maybe.
I think they were calling him Reno.
I think it was just one of the thugs. Maybe it was the one who he ripped the guy's throat out.
Oh, let's see. Jimmy Reno. I mean, if I Google just Jimmy Reno, what's going to come up here?
So
somebody named
he's
Jimmy
looking
that
that
lives
up.
in Reno.
I'll jump to the end of the first movie towards the end. We were making this joke while we were watching it a little bit, but the girl, the love interest, gets really mad when he murders the guy. And then, in response, he murders a bunch more guys. And then she loves him.
And then she loves him.
That guy's Jimmy Reno?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
that's what it looks like. The crazy guy.
The guy where he ripped his throat out.
The ripped his throat out guy, yeah.
Wait, and who was supposed to play him?
Scott Glenn.
So that's Stick from the Daredevil show, right?
Yeah.
And that's Scott Glenn?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. Apparently that Joel Silver cast Sam Elliott as Garrett due to his quote-unquote baggage. What the hell does that mean?
It means he just showed up on set with a bunch of suitcases. It was like, I'm ready to film.
What does that mean?
Listen here, amigo. I'm ready to make this Roadhouse movie. Dude, I love Sam Elliott, but like, what was he doing at this?
What was anybody doing?
Why was there just a national renowned group of bouncers and coolers?
That's how it really is, Paul.
Is it? In the 80s, I guess it was.
No, right now. You can't name the top 10 bouncers in the country at any given moment?
Dalton.
Dalton. One of them's always named Dalton.
Yeah.
That's just a wannabe.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have a lot more to say about the Swayze one. I don't even know. I don't know where to start. I don't want to start at the end, but I will say that was one thing I liked. That might be one thing I liked more about the Swayze one was like, because like that guy like terrorized the whole town, so I liked that the whole town was involved.
Yeah, I really liked
been shooting him 97 times with
downfall.
97 different shotguns.
And he just kept coming.
He kept coming. I thought we were watching a zombie movie for a minute. When you shoot someone for the third time with a shotgun and they're still standing and they won't go down, it's time to run away.
It was like, what's his name at the end of Die Hard?
Oh, yeah.
Like he just gets up again. It's like,
Yeah.
It was an absolutely wild scene, but like, I loved that they all shot him, and then that they collected the guns,
Just put him in another room. I mean, that guy didn't go far.
The police showed up, and the response was to all go like, "I didn't see anything. Did you see anything?" I didn't
including
see
the fat guy. A
And
polar bear fell on me.
The cops in these two towns are the worst cops. I understand that in large part they're on the take, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, well, at least in the Gyllenhaal one, they really established that the cops are on the take.
They reference it, I think, in the other one. They're like, yeah, he says something.
Yeah,
like,
He owns the town.
Right.
The
Yeah,
guy
the
owns
cops-
the
the
town.
cops-
In the Gyllenhaal one, it was this dad, the police chief used to work for that dude's
dad
dad.
that was
He's
in
always been a
jail.
corrupt cop, but now that he's in jail, he technically works for his
But
kid.
even when they weren't, even when it wasn't associated with them being on the take, all the cops were just doing a really bad job.
Oh yeah,
Like,
sure.
At the end there, that cop comes in, maybe he's on the take, maybe he's not. And they're like, we didn't see anything. They hid the guns. That guy walked out of the room and walked back in with no guns. Like, the guns were in the next room. I don't even think they were hidden. He put them on a table in the next room. And
Put 'em
then
in a
the
box
cops,
that said not
at the
guns.
fire, the cops at the fire just let Gyllenhaal into the building. And they were like, you can't be in there. It's not safe. He's like, where's the little girl? And they're like, oh, she's at the hospital. One, why are you just telling this stranger where the little girl is? Number one. And then number two, they give up at that point.
You're
they just
saying
walk
it with
away.
more urgency than the dude did, though. It's like, hey, you can't be in there. It's not safe. It's like, where's the little girl? Oh, they're off at the hospital. But really, I mean, you shouldn't be in there.
And then just walked away.
He was
It just-
super
and
casual
Gyllenhaal
about it.
stayed there looking around for a while, which didn't make any sense either. He didn't have an emotional connection to this building. Like, the girl's gone. We've established that. Why are you still in the building? And why isn't the cops? How'd you get in there? Why won't the cops stop you? Bad cops. Bad cops.
Listen, I'm not. I can neither condone nor defend the actions of the cops in the first one, but I will say I think it might be a little more complicated than just the fact that they put the guns in the other room. Because, like, did you see that guy's house? It was like filled with taxidermy.
Oh my
Right?
god!
Like they were establishing that this evil guy was not just evil, right? That he that he owned the town and he was pulling this protection scheme and that the cops were in his pocket or whatever. He was also bad because he was a big game hunter and he had guns in cases. Then there was pictures all on the wall of like him and the things that he killed. Like, I don't know if you saw them because they were like little in the background, but at one point he's like walking through that hallway and you could see pictures with like him posing with animals that he killed. And then he walks into that room that's almost like his trophy room or whatever, and there's so many animals on the wall, and like it was ridiculous in the fact that there was like a walrus. You know what I
there
mean?
was a lot of wacky stuff.
It was like it wasn't just like this man went to Africa and did big game hunting. It was like he was going to make it his mission to kill one of every animal on the planet.
Two of every. He was making his own death Noah's Ark.
He was a reverse Noah.
Noah's Ark of death. The cops, again, I'm coming back to it. They just walked through a house with like 7 dead bodies. And they come into a room with 4 or 5 living people, and the living people are like, I don't know. And then the cops are just like, all right. 7 dead bodies. 7. That's if they didn't find the guy with his throat ripped out, who I think is just floating in the lake.
He made it to the other shore, like a message in a bottle.
They had to fish him out of the lake before they went skinny dipping in that very last scene.
I like to think they didn't.
They were just skinny dipping in corpseified water.
I like to think he sank to the bottom and they're standing on him, dancing on his grave. Literally dancing on his grave.
Magnificent.
He blew up the old guy's house. The old guy was our friend because he was quick-witted.
Yeah,
There was some snappy dialogue.
they really reached far and wide to hurt Swayze. They blew up the place where he buys auto parts. blew up the place. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, who have you interacted with since you've been here? We're gonna hurt every one of them.
Oh, but not him. They could have just blown up his house, but no, they blew up the house of the man who let him a room.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot to like about it. I like the way he kind of pranced off that roof to go help his friend. Yeah.
Did we decide this was before or after Dirty Dancing?
It's after Dirty Dancing, and I mean he's got a dance background, right, Swayze? I mean, like, conceivably he was in Dirty Dancing because he's a dancer.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he also, like, there's also that quite famous Chippendales sketch, SNL sketch with him and Chris Farley.
Right.
Like, he's, I think he's got a stage dance background as well. Swayze.
He could have had a manlier jump off the roof.
I mean, that's one thing that both movies have, too, when you think about it. It's like, they're kind of unlikely action stars, both of them.
Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
I mean, is he the first one that comes to your mind when you think you're going to make an action movie?
No, certainly not.
I mean, both great.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were both extremely watchable characters. It's for this one, and this is inside baseball, but for anybody who listens to the show that doesn't know us, but this movie will always remind me of our friend Jed. He had a real thing with the way Patrick Swayze did martial arts in this. Jed was really into, like, his specific stance when he's fighting. Like, Jed used to make that exact stance. Like, he learned it from watching Roadhouse. Jed's why I know this movie, and that I will always love him and thank him for that. But the whole thing of, like, he was a philosophy major. He's such a ridiculous character, but also just eminently watchable. Like, Swayze he absolutely owned the character of Dalton. Like, everyone in this movie committed super hard to what they were doing. And I really appreciate it about it. It's one of the things I appreciate most about this movie. And it was a similar thing to the remake, because, like, if you're going to remake Roadhouse, you got to go all in, because otherwise you're going to wind up with what Roadhouse 2 looks like, which looks like hot garbage. Whereas, we saw the trailer for this one, and, like, some of the dialogue in the Gyllenhaal Roadhouse is so freaking good. Like, when he brings the guys outside and he's asking where the hospital is, and, do you have dental insurance? Like, that's a really well written scene, and it was delivered so perfectly. And then the callbacks to it later, the good news is there's a hospital 25 minutes away from here. Like, they really, both of these movies nailed what they were going for so well. And the fact that the remake was as good as it was really brings me a lot of joy. It also seemed like it was maybe trying to set itself up for a potential sequel with Conor McGregor's character still being alive at the end.
I guess that's why they didn't show us the guy in the jail. Maybe he gets out and he's
the
big bad.
And as far as I know, the movie was successful, but I kind of hope they don't do more. Like, I feel like it's a very good one and done situation. I don't think this is something that needs to be a Roadhouse cinematic universe. Like, granted, I've been wrong before. Cobra Kai
was
proved
so
a lot.
good. I
So
finished
good.
it. It was so
I know.
unreasonably good.
They really stuck the landing on that show. I couldn't believe that they did.
I had to stop 5 episodes into that last season, whatever it was, and I called Chris and I was like, how in the hell is there 4 more episodes?
And I was like, there's more than 4, right?
Oh, right, yeah. And then it turned out there was 8 more episodes. I was like, they just killed this kid in a public arena on TV. This is over.
That's what we should have talked about at the Texas Roadhouse. I don't know what we were thinking. We should have talked about Cobra Kai.
And then they blew up. They exploded them.
Spoilers.
It's been out for weeks. Listeners, if they haven't seen it yet, come on.
Two things I can't overlook, and I'm sure there was a lot of great lines in the first one. 2 lines that seemed real odd. The 2 that really jumped out to me is the most just, what?
In the Swayze one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone got a guess?
Oh, when the crazy guy goes, "I fuck guys like you in prison."
That was one of them.
It's a weird flex, but okay.
Yeah.
And like Swayze didn't react the way one should react to that. There should be a full stop and just be like, "What? What?"
To be fair, he was busy at the time.
Ripping out the man's throat.
Or getting ready to, but at the same token, like, that's a weird thing to say to somebody.
Dude, that's not cool. And I don't know. There's a lot there. There's a lot there to unpack. The other one? Anybody got the other one? I just couldn't shake it. No?
Sam Elliott had some weird lines, but that's probably not what you're going to say.
It was when the girl threatened, offered, said she was going to touch her own nipples together.
He was like, let's go nipple to nipple or something. And she's like, I can do that myself.
What?
Wait, what? You can?
I think she was literally threatening to just put her nipples against each other. Like, just...
It's a weird threat.
Again,
sure.
Weird flex.
Weird flex.
This is something you can do and that you're going to prove? I don't...
Which
it's
is
not the comeback you think it was.
No.
Like, it seemed like it was intended to be a roast, and instead it just came off like, I'm not going to think too hard about the logistics of that because it's making my head hurt.
Which is why I think so much of that movie must have been rooted in like something weird somebody experienced. I mean, look, one of the other things that I thought was incredibly disjointed was that like we were in the Double Deuce and we just watched the automotive place blow up, right? Everybody ran out there and it was on fire and it was like, oh my God, poor Red, his business burned down, right? And then we go back into the Double Deuce and the bad guy's sitting there and like sort of instead of like confronting all of it, we then go into this like weird striptease scene.
Oh yeah.
What
was that about?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was the bad guy and his cronies in there basically partying and Swayze just kind of sitting there seething at him. But it was a very strange scene. Kind of like I feel like the point of the scene was that they were trying to have it so the bad guy is like, that was a shame. Let's drink to all the firemen who put out that fire that I started, and just kind of like showing you that I'm in charge and I don't really care about the damage that I've done. I feel like that was the intent, but it still came off as a strange scene.
The other weird part about it, and Swayze breaks all his rules. That guy gets up there with a pool cue that is unreasonably strong. If I hit you with that pool cue, it's broken.
Sure.
He gets up there with a bow staff strength pool cue, starts spinning around, and Swayze sends his guys in, which breaks all the rules from the beginning.
Yeah.
And why would he send his guys in to get their asses kicked?
I mean, I think there was some degree of groundwork laid because that girl... I mean, that girl seemed like she wanted Swayze in the beginning. He was like, I'm not going for it. Then she walks out with one of the bad guy's thugs. And then the next time we see her, she's like doing aerobics in that guy's house and she's got a black eye. Like,
we never really got back to that.
Yeah. But like, I think
that was just meant to be like a one-off, like, no, this guy's a complete piece of shit. He also beats women.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I think then him making her dance in the bar was a continuation of that. Was a like let me show you how I own people. Like let me show you.
But then Swayze was kind of not that she was a good person or anything
Oh
necessarily.
yeah, he said like put your animal on a leash or something like that. Yeah.
Why?
It was
What's
weird.
going on?
Yeah.
I felt bad for her a second ago with the black eye, and now you're kind of like kicking her too. I don't know why we're doing this.
I think it was one of those things where it was like we have a certain number of things in this recipe that we want to get like we got a certain number of weird things in this story that we got to throw in here, and this is one of them. Like this whatever the writer's experience was, it was like, this is part of my Roadhouse story and it's getting in here somehow, like, I mean, I think that could be said for a lot of it. Like, why did he live in a barn? I mean, I now think it was charming. I think it was one of the more fun parts of the movie, but like, come on, that was a little weird. Like, look, in the Gyllenhaal one, it made total sense that he slept on a houseboat. Like the Roadhouse was on was on the water. It had a dock behind it, and she even said, like, he said, "I see you have a houseboat for sale." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm the one selling it. You could stay there." Like, made total sense. With the barn, he was like, "Here, you got a room to rent. It's a barn."
They were offered to put him up in a hotel, and he was like, "No, I'll find my own place." And I think the whole purpose of that was to show that this guy, he had no connection to material possession. Like he was
when he gave the car away.
Exactly. He was one with nature. He didn't need. They made a point of saying, like, "Why do you want this place? It's got no air conditioning. It's got no cable or anything." And he's like, "I don't need any of that. I do Tai Chi in the woods, buck naked, and like I'm one with nature." And I think that was I think the whole purpose of the barn was to show that to illustrate his whole personality of being like all about finding inner peace, but also the fact that like this is clearly this guy's farm that's been around for ages, and then this rich douchebag built a fucking complex across the river and flies his helicopter around and pisses off the horses and everything, and there's no consequences for it.
Right.
Like, this is what this town used to be, and then this guy came in and it's basically ruining everything by trying to modernize it and also being a prick.
That's a much better take on that. I just thought it was lazy that, that the rich guy lived right across the lake from him.
That was how I read it.
They did point out that Swayze liked it because the horses would let him know if anybody was coming.
He did. Yeah, he said that.
They kind of threw that on there.
It was a remarkably thought out movie. I'm not going to say it was always well thought out, but they thought through a lot of the things in this movie. Like, there was thought put into why a lot of the characters were the way that they were. And I liked that there was so much pushback. Like, one of the things that didn't happen in the Gyllenhaal one that did in the Swayze one was that it wasn't just the patrons that were shit. There were also like a handful of bad actors that were working there that kind of added that extra layer of like, no, this guy was this guy's cousin or his nephew or something. So like he tried to push his way back into there, and he was able to like, push him out. But also like he found the guy stealing from the till. He found the guy just like straight off the bat. He was like, you don't work here anymore. Like, you're selling drugs and you're just a hothead, and that's not going to work. End of story. And like the owner of the bar was just like, here's your severance pay. Have a great day. But it wasn't like, it wasn't set out to be just like, fuck you, get the fuck out. It was just like, you are no longer part of our vision. Move on. And then, the one dude turned it into a fucking problem. The other girl was just like, fuck you. But she probably didn't ultimately care. But I liked that layer of it, that it wasn't just the patrons that were ass bags. It was like systemic. It was all throughout it.
It seemed like the Gyllenhaal movie kind of showed the cleanup, the cleanup of the bar, let's call it, through like fight montages. Like you kind of saw him whipping everybody into shape. In the Swayze one, I kind of thought you saw the progression of the bar, in that each time we go in there, it looks nicer. Like. Now we got like paint on the walls, and the sign looks nicer, and there's actual tables, and this window has glass in it now.
There's no signs for a great Buick,
Yeah. That was really something. Both bars had a band behind chicken wire. Sadly, Texas Roadhouse that we ate at tonight did not have a band playing behind chicken wire.
No.
But that would have really made it a triple feature.
It would have. But the music in both of these movies, I think, was really great.
Yeah, I agree.
Very much enjoyed the soundtrack in both of these movies. That was something they carried through really well from the original to the remake, was just putting a focus on really good live bands. Although in the first one,
it's a little more 80s, but
the first one was one band, and in the second one it was a series of bands. I want to say that it was a specific musician in that first one, which.
They said it in the credits. I didn't recognize the...
Karen knew who it was, I think.
Somebody Tucker Band or something. I don't know.
He was like a blind dude. Doop, 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 doop. Music. The soundtrack for Roadhouse features Canadian guitarist Jeff Healey, whose band is featured in the film as the house band for the Double Deuce. And Cruzados are the band in the opening credits, contributing 3 songs to the film that never made the soundtrack. Patrick Swayze also wrote 1 song and sang 2 for the soundtrack. Huh.
Yes.
The film's score was composed by Michael Kamen. A limited edition 14-track score album part of the special collection was issued by Intrada Records in 2012. An expanded limited 31-track score was reissued for the film's 30th anniversary by La La Land Records in 2019.
31 tracks? Wasn't 31 songs in that movie?
I think they're talking about the score instead of the soundtrack.
Was Jeff Healey the blind guy?
Yeah.
Is he actually blind?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Norman Jeffrey Healey. Oh, he died in 2008. That's a shame. Was a Canadian blues, rock, and jazz guitarist, singer, and songwriter who attained popularity in the 80s and 90s. Let's see. He was adopted as an infant. His adopted father was a firefighter. When he was almost 1 year old, Healey lost his sight due to retinoblastoma, a rare cancer of the eyes. His eyes had to be surgically removed, and he was given ocular prosthesis. Wow, so those were fake eyes. Wow, but yeah, he was an actual blind blues musician, which is why Karen knew him, because her parents were both super into the blues, and
he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah.
He played the guitar cool too. He was just cool. He was just cool to watch.
Yeah, that was a neat character. I liked that.
Yeah. What else about the Swayze one? I feel like we've covered a lot of it.
The Swayze and the Gyllenhaal one both had the same kind of arc towards the end, which both seem to work, but when you say it aloud or think it back through, it doesn't make any damn sense. They both spent the first 3/4 of the movie really broken up and like bagging themselves up about this kill, right? They both killed a guy, and they're both real upset about it. And then in both movies, they go on a pretty Punisher-esque killing spree. Like, Gyllenhaal's got a dead body shoved in a corpse at one point that he drags out onto a beach just to put a couple bullets in front of another guy. Like, that shit was thought out. He killed him, then he put him in a bucket, bought ice, dragged the dead body around.
Yeah.
This is not okay behavior. This is not okay behavior. And then he went on and killed a bunch of people. And Swayze, again, seemed real upset that the doctor was upset that he killed the guy. And then the very next thing he does is he just goes into this house and murders at least half a dozen people.
I think that was the whole thing, was like they both knew that they had it in them to kill people, and they didn't love that about themselves. And then the movie was about the villains pushing them to their breaking point and then ultimately regretting it. Like, I mean, just the bit at the end where like he's pulling the wood things out of him and stabbing him, and then pulling them back out of him and stabbing him in different places. Well, that was so cool. I loved the way that he took him down. I love that.
Speaking of that part, we're talking about the Gyllenhaal one. Yeah. But I don't think that post-credit scene with Conor McGregor was to like set him up as a villain in sequels. I think it was just to circle back to that joke where earlier in the movie he's butt naked walking around. Like that he
had it in his contract. My ass needs to be on camera X amount of time.
Yeah.
They were like, we're a little short.
Because in an earlier scene, he's banging some guy's wife or something when he gets the call to get down to Florida and get down to business, and he walks into town naked, and
just
then he
strutting about.
Then he lights a market on fire and takes somebody's robe, and then I think they just wanted him to do that weird uncomfortable walk that he has and show his ass one more time, like that was part of the joke.
That guy is not an actor. He was terrible.
I sort of think that's why he had Knox tattooed on himself 3 times and the neck and the chain. That it was like, are people going to know he's hard to understand? People might not know he's Knox.
I don't know if that was an accent or just the way that guy talks or what, but he was terrible. Like, he pulled it off because the character was just supposed to be completely unhinged, so it kind of worked. But man, there were some line deliveries of his that I'm just looking at like, I don't know about this, guys. It was like, in one of those Fast and Furious movies when Ronda Rousey was trying to become an actor, and then like she was in one of the villain characters in one of the Fast movies, and she was just
That was 7. She was
just dreadful. Like every line that came out of her mouth, she was like, "Oh, this does not translate. Your career as an MMA fighter does not translate to being an actor. It just doesn't."
Because they're different jobs.
They're completely
They're
different jobs. And like he had quite the presence. He did a great job of playing an insane person to a degree, like just somebody super unhinged and very strong. He had a very intimidating presence. But boy, talking was not his strong suit.
I don't know the man personally, and I don't know very much about him other than he's an MMA fighter. I've seen a couple of his fights, but the little bit I've seen him like that strut or whatnot, like I think maybe he was just playing himself as a murdery guy.
Sure.
So I don't know that there was a lot of acting as much as it was just go be you and you'll be great for the fight scenes. I'm assuming, I don't know if it made it easier or not dealing with a real fighter and trying to choreograph fake fight scenes, but
Well, you know what I think you were seeing a little bit. So this was my criticism of the later seasons of The Walking Dead, and I think kind of ultimately like why I lost interest in it and stopped watching it, because I read the comic books, and like the character of Negan is written in a terrifying way in the comic books.
Oh my god,
like
it really is.
he is gruesome and frightening, and the way that they did it in the TV show was that like there was sort of never really an acting turn, that he would act like he was everybody's buddy and like do this like I'm your buddy thing, but then he would do these awful things, and you kind of never saw the character make a turn into like being awful. He just kind of did the awful thing while acting in a friendly way.
Right. There
And
would be,
I
you would
think-
see it the way they would draw his face, where you would see just the look on his face in the comics where he was just absolutely unhinged. Like you look at me like that is somebody that is gone.
I think that's what you were seeing with this Conor McGregor guy, is like he's not an actor, so the acting direction he was given is like, you're gonna do this awful stuff by being friendly and like kind of bright and up and and hey buddy, and you're gonna play it like that. So then they had to keep inserting these like ludicrous things that he was doing, like driving 90 miles an hour down the road eating coconuts and then crashing into a palm tree and then getting out and hitting a guy with a golf club. Like they were like, let's make him do an insane thing, so juxtaposed against the way he's acting makes it seem like he's terrifying, because the actor can't do that.
Ugh.
Indeed.
Are we
So let's talk about Texas Roadhouse a little bit.
Well, wait. I don't know. Is there? I feel like there's more to cover with each. Look, I feel like we pretty well covered the Swayze one. I guess the only thing we really didn't talk about, but do we need to talk about like that like kind of weird sex scene where he like
Oh, for God's sake!
jammed her up against the fireplace?
I think the love interest worked a lot better in the Gyllenhaal one than the Swayze one. I didn't get the two of them in Roadhouse at all. Like I just didn't see I didn't feel the connection. And yeah, the sex scene in the Swayze one is like, there are a lot of flat surfaces that they could have taken advantage of in that house. And he goes and just puts her up against this stone wall with just jagged corners everywhere.
It also felt like the way that it was filmed, that it like was really zeroing in on certain things, where it was like, we want you to know where his dick is at all times. We want to tell this story.
We're not going to take his pants all the way off, but we're going to make sure you know that she took it out and she didn't show up there wearing any underwear.
All right, I think we covered that pretty well.
I would say that
Why don't they kiss? Why do they fuck without kissing?
it just felt really unnatural. But I liked I kind of felt that the Jake Gyllenhaal love interest character, the fact that she kind of fell for him made more sense to me than the Swayze one. Like, she just seemed like a more interesting character. There weren't any, I don't think any of the henchmen were super likable per se in the Swayze one. Like, I guess the fat guy was kind of entertaining, but like there was nothing compared to that the dude in the
guy that I guess I'll call him the broken arm guy because he had lots of the movie with a broken arm. But yeah, just the fact that he always had a helpful, friendly answer when when Gyllenhaal was trying to be menacing was just comic gold.
Yeah, there was definitely some very, very good comedy written around that guy, and a handful of other things in that flick. I can't think of much else. Yeah, there weren't as many explosions. It wasn't that the remake didn't have explosions. When he blew up that dude's boat, that was pretty funny, and it was a decent explosion. But like,
it was also funny that like he starts hitting that trigger and he's like, oh fuck.
It didn't work.
He was so in control of every moment. Every moment he was so in control. He walks out in the parking lot and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go back to the beginning of the movie. A guy sticks a knife in him and he goes, you sure you want to do this?
I don't think you thought this through.
I don't think you thought this through. Like, every scene, he's so in control. I loved, he goes out in the parking lot. He's like, "Are those your bikes out there? I just did this to get you outside. You got good insurance."
Like, halfway through the fight, he's like, "We can just call this a draw. We'll just be done. We'll call it a draw."
He was so in control, and then he goes to hit that button, and nothing blows up, and he's like, "Oh fuck!"
It was nice to see him slightly flustered for a minute there.
Yeah,
that was really well done.
It also seemed weird to me. Again, you're going on a murder spree. Either one of them, this holds true for both. Like, you've snapped, it's over now. We've come to the end of us, Rita, however you want to put it. They both just kept ignoring the guns. Like,
I kind of love that though.
I think it worked for the movie, but I don't think in retrospect, logically, it makes a lot of sense. Like, they've snapped, right? He's in his kill mode now. Like, he's gone too far, or they've gone too far. Somebody's gone too far. It doesn't matter. And like, at one point, both of them held guns that they just discarded and went on killing people with their bare
like
hands.
Batman. They don't like guns.
Well,
Gyllenhaal shot that dead body with the gun.
Yeah, but he was already dead. He was already dead. Because he doesn't use guns doesn't mean he can't use guns.
I think some of it was I think some of it was like good planning, and I think some of it was, I guess, kind of just like circumstance, right? Because like with a lot of the Swayze one, it's framed by the fact that it's like in a bar, and we're trying to go with like what's legal here, even with the Gyllenhaal one, like there was instances where you were like, okay, he's got to defend himself, but then like, how does he not go to jail? Like the way they set up the alligator, like
right.
He comes home, that guy is waiting in his houseboat with a gun, at that point it's him or you. So like, how do you end that ordeal with Gyllenhaal just not taking the gun and shooting him? All right, we set up this alligator. Like I think it wasn't just that like we had to make the character be a hero and take the high road. I think it was also that like, it had to be framed with like, this needs to be believable in that like these people didn't all get rounded up and arrested and go to jail.
Well, I think they sorted out that logical problem when they established how piss poor the cops are.
Yeah.
Just terrible at their jobs.
Right.
I really liked the scene where the guy had the gun. He flashed the gun at him. He was like, "Well, it's in your pants." He made a real big point of showing it to me, but it's not really much of a threat. It's in your pants, and all I got to do is break your fingers, and then you can't use the gun. He goes up there and he just breaks his fucking fingers.
That was another thing that I loved about Gyllenhaal, is like he was just so plain with the way he laid it out, yeah, you showed me that. It's not going to do a lot of good if I break your finger. Like he told them what he was going to do before he did it, and then he was so much of a badass that he did it anyway. I don't know. Like I feel like this is a hot take because the Swayze one is so fun, but watching them back to back, I really laughed hard at the Gyllenhaal one. Like it was so enjoyable. Like it really just made my day.
I'm with you. I think the Gyllenhaal one's a better movie. I'll always love the original too, but it's the original is amazing in a very different kind of way, but it's also, the Gyllenhaal one has the benefit of hindsight and modern filmmaking. It had the original to build on.
The logic is a lot. The comedy's a lot better in the Gyllenhaal one. The logic is a lot better. The logic of the town. That this small town is an island. Again, even sort of the geography of the roadhouse, I feel like, is important. The logic of the crime and the criminal enterprise and what's trying to be built there.
Really thought it was going to be drugs. And then it was just, no, we want to build a hotel.
Yeah.
That's not even illegal, man. You're just going about it in a really illegal way.
Yeah. Well, they can't build it until you get rid of that roadhouse. It was like when they built Consumer Square, but they couldn't get rid of volcanic eruptions. It was like, so they just wind up building, not Consumer Square, the Hamilton Commons. They wound up building everything around volcanic eruptions because they couldn't get rid of it. And of course, then it eventually went under and they bought the land and now it's an Outback Steakhouse. But similar situation, except they couldn't really build a resort. They had all the trees and like a fence up around it because they wanted to keep the pristine look of the shopping center and all that.
Speaking of steakhouses, are we still talking about the Gyllenhaal one?
I think I'm ready to move on to talk about Texas Roadhouse because I had never been Texas Roadhouse. This was a new experience for me. It was profoundly busy, which I really liked seeing because I've been to a couple of chain restaurants. We don't eat out very often. It's expensive, and we cook at home most of the time. But sometimes we'll go out to like Applebee's or something, and it just hasn't been super busy in a chain restaurant that we've been to. This place was fucking hopping. Like you could barely get through the door. There was people everywhere. And you walk in, and when they started to seat us, they're like, "Do you want to pick out your steak?"
Let me be the first to say that your wife fucking navigated this thing like a boss.
Yes, Karen called ahead while she was picking up our babysitter, and got us on the wait list so that when we got there, we only had to wait like a couple of minutes before getting seated.
Yeah, I mean, considering that, look, we collectively decided we were going to do this, but considering the fact that we made the invite pretty far-reaching, and we were like, "Come with us to Texas Roadhouse," I would have looked pretty dumb because we would have been waiting there for hours. We would have
been waiting there for 45 minutes at least.
Yeah, your wife really made this slick. We got in the car, we got there, and we were like, "Hey, we've been waiting in line for the last half hour."
That was clutch. So the fact that they had a bunch of steaks and a glass counter and you want to pick out your meat? Here it is. It's all cut for you. You can pick out whichever one you want. I don't know enough about steak to have done that, but I liked that I had that option. So then we sit down at the table. The table's pretty comfortable, right? It was well maintained. It wasn't dirty. There wasn't a bunch of scratches in the table. This place hasn't been there very long. I think it's only been there for 2, maybe 3 years tops. But it was very well maintained. Our waiter was nice.
I told him that we had just watched 2 Roadhouse movies.
Yeah,
he seemed only mildly.
Yeah,
entertained.
he didn't. I don't think he understood the gravity of what we were saying. I think we really could have gone in a little bit further and be like, "No, you don't understand. We started at noon. We watched Roadhouse, and then we watched Roadhouse, and then we came here to Roadhouse."
He didn't know that it was a 1 and a 1. It wasn't a sequel.
He didn't say 2 because really, who knows about Roadhouse 2? I thought that was pretty cool.
Listen, he wasn't prepared for that considering his question was, "Have you ever eaten at Texas Roadhouse before?"
Indeed.
And my answer was, "I have," and we also just both watched two Roadhouse movies back to back.
So the bread, I love bread in restaurants. I almost always fill up on bread. Every year for my birthday, I eat at Red Lobster because they're my favorite those Cheddar Bay biscuits are just unbelievable. But so the bread was sweeter than I expected. Like the butter was pretty sweet too, but the bread itself was very sweet. That really took me for a loop. It was tasty, but I was expecting something a bit more savory and buttery, and not really a sweet bread. How did you guys feel about it?
The bread's awesome, man.
It was. I agree that the Red Lobster's got the best biscuits there.
Oh my god!
Who was I? I don't know if I was talking to you about this. I was talking to somebody the other day about Red Lobster, and it wasn't my idea. It was somebody else's idea. But I was like, why don't they do that? Why don't they make a lobster sandwich using those biscuits? Like, why does it just got to be my dinner roll? Like, cut that open because they serve like a lobster roll, which is lobster on bread.
But they don't put it on the Cheddar Bay biscuit.
Put it on the Cheddar Bay biscuit.
Yeah,
You've nailed this bread product. Lean into it.
Yeah,
I don't
Oh,
know that I've ever eaten at a Red Lobster.
really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my birthday's in June.
Okay.
Come out.
Count me in.
Come out to Red Lobster. We'll make an ultimate feast of it. That's one of their menu items. The ultimate feast.
Okay.
I get that almost every year. So, anyways, Sean and I actually both got the same thing. We got what was it? Ribeye, I want to say. Is that what we got?
Sirloin and ribs.
Yeah, sirloin and ribs, and a baked potato with almost everything on. I don't like sour cream, so I didn't get sour cream on mine. And the steak was cooked perfectly. It was exactly what I asked for. I probably shouldn't have gotten the onions on top. The onions were a bit over. There was a bit much.
It was a lot of onions. I didn't eat all the onions, but
Yeah,
I like the flavor.
Yeah, I think I would have been just as happy without the onions. But the baked potato was very, very, very well done. The ribs were good, but your ribs had a ton of barbecue sauce on them, and mine did not. I was very jealous of your ribs because I love barbecue sauce on ribs, and yours looked so much better than mine. Now, granted, mine were still pretty dang tasty, but I think it could have been better.
Yeah, I tend to overdo it with barbecue sauce. Like I did not finish my meal because I don't know, I didn't have it in me to finish it. It was
I have to get my steps in. I'm gonna walk around just for a second. You guys talk while I'm walking around.
I thought you were getting up to go to the bathroom. With all the food that we've eaten at Texas Roadhouse, I'm surprised I haven't turned your bathroom into the Double Deuce. You know, to call back to the first Roadhouse movie. Oh yeah, was it called the Bloomin' Onion?
No, that would be all kinds of
I
lawsuits.
guess every steakhouse has an onion.
They called it the Cactus Rose.
Cactus Rose. Yeah, I mean, like there was.
I'm missing it, but I'm close.
There was a steakhouse near where I was in Philly that called it the Texas Tunyon or something. But like, yeah, literally everybody's got
it's the same thing.
Fried onion floury thing.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was good.
I thought it was pretty tasty. I don't like the sauce that they serve it with, but I will say that my salad I was very angry with because never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined it would have been covered in hard-boiled eggs, which I hate hard-boiled eggs. But it came with honey mustard dressing, and dipping the onion in the honey mustard dressing, that was a winning situation. That was fantastic.
It is funny that they put the eggs on the salad because they must have been like, well, steakhouse. These people aren't getting any protein. We better add some eggs in the salad. This is the one thing that, never mind.
You really didn't need to do that. You really didn't.
I also got a 6-inch sirloin.
That's what she said.
I got shrimp with it. I got grilled shrimp.
Oh, how was
it.
the shrimp?
It was good. Came on some like garlic bread type stuff. That was also good. I got mashed potatoes instead of baked potato.
See, I saw Greg's mashed potatoes, and he had gravy on his, and I immediately regretted my decision. I was like, mashed potatoes and gravy. I can make a baked potato with bacon on it at home anytime. But making gravy to put on top of a mashed potatoes, that's a restaurant situation.
He named so many things when he asked me about the potato. I freaked out. Like he was like bacon, cheddar, sour cream. But like he listed like 6 things. I was like, sour cream.
It's actually the main reason that I just said, yeah, I'll have what he had was because I felt like it took a long time for him to ask all his questions to Chris and for Chris to answer all his questions. Not that Chris was sitting around waiting. It was a lot of questions. And what would you like for your sides? This and this. Well, do you want those potatoes loaded? Sure. Do you want cheese? butter, sour cream. And then he answered that. And then he was like, and what kind of salad? I don't know, the house salad. And what kind of dress? And I was just like, I'll have whatever what temperature do you want that meat at?
Done.
It was like, whatever he had, I'll take it.
You said ditto all the way.
It was a tasty meal. I was very impressed with the experience. I don't know.
I'm going to forget my leftovers in your fridge, not on purpose. I really want to take them, but I'm not gonna. It's not gonna happen.
Again, I was bummed that we didn't get into a fist fight there, and I was also bummed that there was not a band playing behind a chicken wire fence. Mm-hmm. But all things considered, it really rounded out the night in making a real nice triple feature.
And it was a good restaurant, and they could have turned up the music a little. They were playing some good music. It was like Johnny Cash on the way out. There was something pretty good going in too. And I went
just couldn't hear it. Which I mean, I guess if they had made it much louder, because it was pretty loud in the restaurant to begin with because there were so many people.
Yeah.
So I guess if they had made the music louder, it probably would have just made the people trying to talk louder. And we had a very easy time conversing. Like we could all hear each other at the table. I really appreciated that.
Sometimes I'm not good at that recently.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because we're old.
Yeah.
So yeah, Texas Roadhouse. That was a great cap to the evening, and I'm pretty happy with the way that this whole situation turned out.
So Roadhouse 1, thumbs up. Roadhouse 2, thumbs up. Roadhouse, the place to eat, thumbs up.
Well, not Roadhouse 2. Roadhouse 2 we didn't watch.
Oh yeah, no, not Roadhouse 2.
Roadhouse 2024.
I want to give it a thumbs down, but in all fairness, we didn't
watch it. It could be amazing. It stars the guy that played Jimmy in That Thing You Do, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
now, dare we ask, was your favorite Roadhouse Swayze, Gyllenhaal, or Texas?
Ooh.
That's tough.
Roadhouse rankings.
Yeah, like how do you rank the day?
I'm going to go. This is my answer. From my heart. Swayze, Gyllenhaal, Texas.
I mean, good answer.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I think
Swayze, Gyllenhaal's a close call. I think they were both very good movies. The restaurant was great. In all fairness, I mean, it's a steakhouse. I feel like, again, the food was good. The prices were reasonable. I'm pretty happy with the whole situation. You don't have to fall over yourself to get to one. I mean, go to another steak place, probably do a pretty good job too.
I'm so happy that we did it. This is not a slight on Texas Roadhouse. Like, I want the good people at Texas Roadhouse to know how much we enjoyed their establishment. I just feel like if you don't rank it third, then you're really doing you're really doing an injustice to Gyllenhaal or Swayze. Yeah, like I said, this is a hot take, and look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should go with my heart and stay with the classic, like we say. But like watching them back to back was an interesting experience, and I really loved that second one. And I'm gonna go Texas, Swayze, Gyllenhaal.
Wow, the dinner above the movies.
Sorry, I went bottom to top. Sorry, okay. Yeah, sorry. Let me do that the other way. Gyllenhaal, Swayze, Texas.
I'm with Paul, but it's a very close call. Like you could ask me in a half an hour, and I'd change my mind because I do think the Gyllenhaal movie is a better movie. I have so much fun watching the Swayze movie.
Yeah, I don't do it lightly. I don't rank one above the other lightly. It's hard.
Yeah, it's like we're choosing three phenomenal experiences.
Sure.
And just like it's really like 1.5, 1.75. Like that's how I'm looking at this. But yeah, I feel the same way in my rankings. All three get a big fat thumbs up for me, and the highest recommendation.
Absolutely, and all three complement each other well. I think it's a good way to spend a Saturday.
I agree.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid Saturday.
Good work, gentlemen.
I'm glad we did this. All right, I guess it's time to choose our S movies. Our previous S movie was Surf Ninjas, which was, I believe, my pick.
Might as well have been all of our picks.
It's true. Kwansu dudes.
Kwansu.
So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it. I've already forgotten.
Paul's groping at me through the air.
I lost my phone.
I feel offended.
I mean, I'm only doing that because you drunkenly texted us your pick a week ago, and we just ignored it.
Just assumed,
like,
well,
Sean's
texting weird shit again.
I was at a bar, and somebody was telling me about this movie, and I was like, that's what I want for my S pick. So that I real quick panic texted the two of you so that I wouldn't forget about it. But then, as we sat here a moment ago, I realized I did that another time but I took a screen grab shot photo pic. And I just looked, and I've got 2 good S pics of movies that I wanted to watch. So now I'm going with the other one that I didn't text you, because the one I texted you is called The Substance, and it's Demi Moore, and it's
new, right?
It's like 2024. She won an Academy Award, I think, for Best Actress or Golden Globe, and it was up for Best Picture. And I didn't know almost anything about it, but then I watched a preview, and I don't think Chris will vote for it, so I'm not going to go with it. I think it's like a body dysmorphia, high tension, not horror film, but like maybe Black Mirror-esque is what the vibe I'm getting, right?
I mean, at the Oscars, Conan kind of parodied it, and he like climbed out of like Demi Moore's like sunken in body.
Yeah, I think there's probably some like meaning or something behind it, and sometimes I just watch these sci-fi movies and I'm like, stop trying to force some sort of parable on me. I just want to watch some crazy ass shit happen. But instead of that, because I don't think Chris is gonna love that, the other S movie that I took a screen grab of, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but I think this will get votes if you haven't seen it, and I haven't watched it in 15 years. The movie is called The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
I've seen it. I remember it.
I have not seen it, but
I remember
I've heard
it. That's like a old independent movie.
Yeah, it's
John Turturro,
Samuel L. Jackson, Steve Buscemi, a couple other names in there, and I remember really liking it. I only half remember the plot. It's like some guy's making like a documentary about his hometown, and he's interviewing people, and this guy, One-Eyed Jimmy, is missing, so then everybody's looking for him. It's some sort of thing like that. I remember loving it like very end of high school, so like late 90s, early 2000s.
I remember owning the VHS, which is rough because now looking back, I don't know that I could tell you a lot about the movie, but that's...
It came out in 94, but I didn't see it in 94. I think I saw it towards the end of high school.
All right.
So that's my pick, The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
Okay. You or me, Chris?
Oh, I can go. My pick is going to be a movie that I absolutely adore. It is not a good movie, but it is an extraordinarily fun movie that has an interesting history. And
Surf Ninjas, we did this.
I think it would make for an excellent conversation. I would very much like to watch Street Fighter.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. As soon as you said it's not a good movie, I was like, he's going to say Street Fighter.
It's such a fun movie.
Oh, God.
It's Jean-Claude Van Damme on all the cocaine. It's Raul Julia literally dying while making the movie. It's freaking Kylie Minogue as Cammy, Ryu and Ken as mercenaries, Sagat's a pirate, E. Honda's a Hawaiian sumo wrestler newscaster.
You don't have to explain it to me. I watched
Dr. Dulcie.
I watched it not that long ago.
Oh,
why?
It is an absolute masterpiece of camp and absurdity. And I think it would be a really fun conversation to have.
We're not going to do Dulcie. We're just going to make him a regular person. I don't know. Was he Indian? He's probably a doctor, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Look, they had to put a lot of people in that movie. Yeah. Okay. Boy, I don't know. So again, I made a list a while ago, and it seems like I just made a list to ignore it. I couldn't tell you what my movie was on that list. You know what? At one point, I think I had written Stand By Me on there, and I just watched it with Nate like not that long ago. So that's not going to be my pick. Yeah, S is hard. There's a lot of S movies.
There's a lot of great movies to choose from.
Stand By Me is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
That's one of those movies I probably haven't seen in 10 or 15 years, but I saw so many times when I was young. I think I could go scene by scene and tell you at least one line from every scene in order.
I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times.
It's
but
a great
really like
movie.
it. Like Shawshank Redemption. I haven't seen that in a long time. That's one of the best movies ever made.
You know what? We just showed
100%.
Nate that not that long ago either. I guess we've kind of been on a weird Stephen King kick. No, my movie's not going to be anything like that. I think this is how I went down this rabbit hole. I think I I think I was looking up like Mel Brooks movies or something, and at one point, I was like looking at trivia about Blazing Saddles, and I was reading that initially they wanted Richard Pryor to play that role, but that like Mel Brooks was like, he's too much of a wild card. Like I don't know if we could cast him. And I was kind of like, I wonder what that movie would have been like with him. And then I started looking up Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder movies, thinking that like they wanted that because those two had such a history of working together.
They did like
and I was
3
like,
movies,
no,
right?
yeah, but like Blazing Saddles was first, like before any of these movies. But of the 4 movies that Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor did together, 4, 3 of them start with S. So I was like, oh boy. So,
wasn't there a woman? Was he a woman?
What? Which one's that?
See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
See No Evil, Hear No Evil is one of them.
Silver
Streak and Stir Crazy. So I think of those 3, I think Silver Streak is probably notable for being the better movie. So my pick's going to be Silver Streak.
And you see, I think I like See No Evil, Hear No Evil more. Although, in all fairness, I don't think I saw that third one you said, because I don't think I've ever heard of that third.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, I don't know it.
So
Stir Crazy?
Yeah, look, it's not fair for me to like change my pick on what you might vote for. So I'm gonna stick with
Silver Streak.
Silver Streak.
I'm not saying Silver Streak's a bad movie. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying between that and See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
I bet you. I mean, look, I bet you we watch any of them and we say like, "Ooh, some of that hasn't aged well." But I bet you a lot of See No Evil, Hear No Evil has not aged well.
I bet you a lot has not aged so good.
Hand me my
phone. Crap! We're supposed to do the voting thing.
We do.
This is tough. Red leader standing by.
Gold leader standing by.
This leader standing by. Ready.
All right, and go.
I did hit.
Let's say.
I see one vote for one vote for another, and I don't have the third vote.
You're in a different text thread. That's fine.
You are, and you voted for the other. Oh, we got a tie. All right, we have to have Greg break the tie.
Now, Greg might not be able to figure this out because it's 2 different threads.
I'm gonna text him.
All right, we heard back from Greg, and he chose Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
So there you go, folks. That's your homework. We will be watching
Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
And I'm sure it's going to be great and exciting. And with that said, that's going to wrap up our show. A Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network, and if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, all of which can be found in our show notes. If you'd like early access to this podcast and several others in the Geekade Podcast Network, check out the Geekade Patreon, linked to in the show notes. It helps keep the show running and our site shiny and clean. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time in a theater near you.
Please remember, no one wins a fight.
Have a good one, amigo.
Pain don't hurt.
All night long.
All right, we heard back from Greg, and he chose Street Fighter.
He did?
All right, we heard back from Greg, and he chose Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
I see.
We heard back from Greg, and he chose Silver Streaks.
So I can edit whichever one in after the fact.
Are we really doing that?
Because then I got to say the rest. They could talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it 3 times.
But talk about
You could just say, well, folks, you know what your homework is.
Yeah. Well, folks, you know what your homework is. You've got all the pieces you need.
I think so.
All the pieces of the puzzle. All right. Well, I'm all out of patience. Let's say Sean just said all the things, and I'm going to edit it together to make it make sense. So there you go, folks. That's your homework. We'll be watching
Silver Streaks, Street Fighter, Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
And I'm sure it's going to be great and exciting.